Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a message for those of you who have been seeking answers, and who might find that you might feel that something is happening in the atmosphere. So first, I want to start off by telling you all a dream that I had. I definitely want to address the death of Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. I want to address that. What's happening in Hollywood, and I've been given so many spiritual uploads in regards to what's happening right now that I'm coming on to share it with you all, okay? So first with my dream, I had a dream that I was in a house, okay? And I was in the back room with an old friend of mine. We're no longer friends, but I was in the back room with her. And I had left my purse in the front room on the table. And while I was back there with her, I was talking to her and I said, I had a premonition. I saw a vision and I said, we're getting ready to be robbed. Someone is getting ready to come in here and rob us. So I told her we need to get prepared just in case we have to defend ourselves because somebody is getting ready to break into this house. She looked at me. She didn't say anything. About a minute or two later, we heard commotion in the front. So at that point, I knew that they was definitely going through my purse. They was taking whatever they could find. And so I looked over at her and she was knocked out sleeping. And so in my mind, I said, well, how the hell did she fall asleep within 2.5 seconds, especially at a time like this? But she was knocked out sleep. So I started looking around to see if I could find a weapon to protect myself, and I found nothing. So I just decided to sit still. I got behind the bed and I just waited. I knew they were coming. So three men came in, three black men showed up, and they just started looking around, but then they saw me. And so two of them ran when they saw me. One of them stayed. And the one that stayed started spilling everything to me. He started telling me his life story and how everything had failed for him and how he was never able to catch a break and how he had low self-esteem and felt like he was worthless. And I mean, it was like he decided to just spill everything that he had been holding within to me. And I just sat there and I did nothing but listen. And I woke up. So at first, I was like, okay, well, that was a dream. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And then I actually got an email from someone who had watched a reading that I had done on Kevin Samuels about 8 months ago on my other channel, Shavi Zane, the Spiritual Counselor. And she remembered that reading and she told me, unfortunately, Kevin Samuels has passed away. And immediately I felt a tight knot in the pit of my stomach because even though I was very much so against the messages that he pushed on his platform because I knew that it was causing a lot of division between the black man and woman, I still felt bad for him, and so I heard that he had this heart attack and it prompted me to go back and watch the reading that I had done on him. And it was very clear based on what I had pulled on his energy that he was definitely dealing with a lot of darkness, internal darkness. Okay. And so this is why he was an easy target for the enemy. Why do I say this? Because I strongly feel that Kevin Samuels was a part of the sacrifice. Okay. Now, Kevin Samuels, I didn't watch much of his work on his platform, but when I first went to go and look at his channel before I did the reading on him, I scrolled way down to his very first message on his channel, his very first video, and he used to promote things like colognes and stuff like that. And I saw a totally different person then from the one who had millions of followers today. And so it was like night and day, two different people, his countenance, everything about him, the way that he looked, everything had shifted. And so I had no idea that Kevin Samuels was rubbing shoulders with a lot of people in Hollywood, like big name people, and doing interviews with them. I had no idea that he had gotten that popular amongst the so-called wealthy people in Hollywood. I just knew that his platform was continuing to increase. So he ended up having this heart attack recently, obviously. And I started getting all of these uploads and it started to make sense in terms of certain things. So let me tell you all, for those of you who are chosen, who are watching this message right now, I want to tell you all some of the things that have been revealed to me about Hollywood and about the so-called powers that were, those who have been in power who have been working behind the scenes, manipulating things in order to maintain this current structure called the U.S. corporation and other nations who are conjoined with them. Specifically here, though, in Hollywood, I've noticed a trend that's been happening within the past couple of years. The black men in Hollywood have been losing their positions, whether they're going to jail, like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, or whether they are being blackballed or ostracized by their so-called peers in Hollywood, such as Will Smith, or even as recently as Dave Chappelle, who had someone come on stage with a gun, and obviously his life was at risk for something like that to take place. There's something happening right now. The energy has shifted so much that the enemy is now blatantly showing us that now the black man in Hollywood is now the sacrificial lamb. So many of you might say, well, they asked for it. They sold their soul in order to get that position, that ranking. But what I'm being shown is that, yes, some of them have done it, okay? Some of them definitely have done it and they knew what was happening. But what I'm being shown is that some of them signed these contracts spiritually and physically without understanding the depth of what they were signing themselves over to. Because the enemy is currently losing his position of power, its position of power, the dark energy, the beast, Babylon, they are now scrambling to do things in the physical to distract the people and to put you all back to sleep. So this is where my dream comes in at. Because the old friend of mine, the first thing that she did when she heard that there was getting ready to be some chaos and disruption was she put herself to sleep. Automatically, she went to sleep, okay? So she was not prepared to be a part of the battle, potential battle, right? So she purposely went back to sleep. 3 black men came in with the intentions of taking, because that's all they knew to do, right? Because once I got a chance to speak with one of them, 2 of them fled when they recognized who I was. And one of them stayed to pretty much purge everything, I guess in hopes that it would bring some sort of redemption to him if I understood the reason behind his actions. So how do I put this together in terms of the black men in Hollywood? I strongly sense that what's happening right now is that many of them know that the enemy's time is up. Many of them also know that it's a strong potential that they may be the next sacrifice on behalf of the enemy in order to divert the attention specifically of the melanated man and woman, so that we do not continue to rise in our divinity as gods, goddesses, kings, and queens. There's definitely a shift that is taking place. Now, many of you have joined me in breaking the generational curses off of yourself, your ancestors, your offspring, and all of the chosen seed across the 4 corners of the globe. Many of you have done it by burning the curses that was placed over us from the book of Deuteronomy. And many of you have done it by, declaring and decreeing that all the generational curses are broken off of yourself and off of your ancestors. This is how you call in your inheritance. This is how you claim your birthright and all of those things that the enemy purposely withheld from us in order to build his kingdom off of our gifts and our inheritance. So we have spiritually won the spiritual warfare. So now the enemy is trying to put back to sleep as many people as possible. Kevin Samuel specifically has been used as a sacrifice in order to pin the black man and the black woman against one another. Because what do you see happening at this very moment? Many people are putting videos out in regards to saying, well, there's a lot of black women that are happy that Kevin Samuels is now deceased. And there's black men that are, very angry, because they there was a certain amount of bitterness that had built up within them just by simply following Kevin Samuels at that time. So there is a resistance that is taking place right now between enough black men and black women for the enemy to try and to come in and use that as a portal to now siphon energy or to create more disruption. So you have all of these things that's happening back to back. You have Will Smith smacking Chris Rock, and then now he's had to flee and go off into rehab. Then you have Kevin Samuels passing away. Then you have Jamie Foxx almost being potentially murdered by someone who came on stage with a gun. All of these things are happening to specifically the melanated man in Hollywood. Another thing that was shown to me is that these men, many of the black men in Hollywood, are married to witches. Yes, witches, okay? And so many of these women have taken oaths in Hollywood that in the event that that man is sacrificed, obviously, who gets the royalties? They'll get a certain portion, and then another portion of it will go back to the so-called powers that were, okay? So they have signed their souls over too, but more so have made an agreement to be a part of ushering in the sacrifice of their husband in the event that their number is called, okay? I feel that Dave Chappelle's incident was a threat to him, to say that if you do not bow down to what we are showing you or what we are telling you to do at this time, then you too, your life is that fragile. Because there's no way that in a place like that, the person that jumped up on the stage was literally right there at the front, in the front row with a pistol. How do you even get in? And how do you get all the way to the front, right? So it's very clear that these people are trying to send messages to the black men in Hollywood to let them know that your position here is very fragile and that at any given moment you could be taken out. So if you do not adhere to the agreements and the contracts that you have signed in order to get this position of stardom, as they like to call it, then you are now vulnerable to being the next sacrifice. So Kevin Samuel was used as that. He was used to create a certain chaotic energy between the melanated man and woman to pin us against one another. Well, you're not high profile, or you're not whatever, I forgot the term that they use, high quality or something like that. You're not this, you're not that until you're on this level. No, you're a 3 comparison to a 10 and all of this other stuff. So now it's created a different chaotic energy that has the women, hopefully, many of you have enough common sense not to laugh at the death of your own brother, even if he was, rebellious in his energy and very, arrogant or whatever the case may be. You don't laugh at the death of your own brother, okay? But there's so many people that's out here that's very low vibrational in their energy. They have no divine connection, and they're so asleep and so in their own ego that they find something like that funny. I don't find it funny at all, and no one should. But this is all a tactic of the enemy to create distractions from what's really taking place, which is the fact that they are losing oxygen. That beast, the powers that were, is losing air. It's losing fuel, because those of us who are chosen, who have a divine purpose here, have reclaimed our inheritance and our authority. We have reclaimed our birthright. We have reclaimed our authority to be the co-creators of our lives. And so because of this, consider what was told to me also is that the enemy has built his empire off of our creative gifts, specifically the chosen though. He has built his empire off of our creative gifts through dark magic, through siphoning of energy, and through suppression of your gifts. Now, I'll ask you this question for many of you, because I found that myself personally, I can attest to this, as well as many people who I've done personal readings on, have said to me, I used to have a gift. I used to have many talents. I used to have talents for writing. I used to have talents for singing. I used to have talents for dancing or, teaching or speaking or whatever the case may be. And many of them say, but I don't know. I just feel like I lost my gift. Either they feel like they lost their gifts completely, or they feel like their gifts have been suppressed to where they don't have a passion or an excitement for it anymore. Why? What was shown to me is that the so-called powers that were, what they did was, in Hollywood, there is cults, right? There's specific cults where they come in and they sign these contractual agreements. And so those people that are behind the scenes have been harnessing and siphoning the energy and the creative gifts of the chosen to use it to create their empire with. So you're sitting over there thinking, well, I got to work for somebody because I don't have any gifts. I don't even know what I'm good at. And the things that I used to be good at, I'm either not passionate about it anymore, or I'm just not, the gift is gone. I don't know what happened to it. Me personally, I used to have the gift of being able to sing. I had the gift of being able to draw, paint. I had the gift of being able to do hair, all of these different things. And there was a time in my life where I felt like I lost passion for these gifts, or some of them I felt was completely wiped out, and I couldn't give an explanation why. Even to this day, in terms of my singing voice, I used to be able to blow, y'all. Okay, don't get it twisted now. I used to be able to sing, and those people who knew me, where my throat chakra wasn't closed around them, they heard my voice. And then it came a few years ago when my voice was completely gone. I couldn't sing anymore, and I didn't even understand it, because I'd be in a car trying to sing, and I'm like, what happened to my voice? It's because the enemy has been harnessing the gifts of the chosen to use your creative gifts to build his kingdom. And so now, because the chosen we're taking our power back, and we have the Most High, we've already spoken, we've made our declarations out there, we have awakened, we know who we are, so we got our holy angels, we got our ancestors of love and light that's stepping in on our behalf, because we've broken the generational curses for them. So now they're able to work on our behalf in a spiritual realm, whereas before they didn't have enough leverage to do so, because we had not made that connection, and we had not broken the chains off of them in the spiritual realm. And so because many of you have done that, and you've withdrawn yourself from this matrix, you've withdrawn yourself from this system, what's happening is the enemy is losing momentum. Okay? It's slowing down. The heartbeat is damn near, it's almost faded out, okay, of that beast, that structure that they had created off of our creative energy. And so even when I go back into my dream, I find that man that stood in front of me, that poured out everything in front of me, is an example of these black men who are in Hollywood. Because many of them they are awakening just like the rest of the world is. We're in the age of Aquarius, so you can't help but awaken. Many people will put themselves back to sleep, though, just like my friend did, my past friend did in the dream. She put herself back to sleep in 2.5 seconds when she realized something. So it was like, maybe there was a fear of having to face some sort of karma. I don't know. But she was asleep just like that. And so many of our people will put themselves back to sleep, even though they're awakening just like the rest of us. Okay? But then there's many of us who are accepting the changes that are happening within us and around us. And we are accepting, seeing this thing from a totally different perspective, and understanding that what was fed to us, what we was conditioned to believe, has not been in alignment with us stepping into our divinity, and with us having that true divine connection to the Most High and all that exists in spirit and in flesh. Now we see clearly, and we accept it for what it is. We don't need anyone to come along telling us, no, this is what the ideal version of the Most High looks like. This is who the Most High is, and this is the way that you're supposed to connect, because if you don't do it this way, you're going to hell. I got a whole nother message that I'm going to bring in regards to those who want to condemn people to hell. Because naturally, a person don't have a hell to put you in unless you join in their side of the fence. Because most of these people that'll tell you you're going to hell they've been living in hell all their lives and don't even know it. They don't realize that is the hell, your reality, and the fact that you're chained and bound and boxed in. You're in a prison. You're in your own prison in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm, but they don't see that. But moving back to what's happening here is that we are taking our creative gifts back. And so now it's like, okay, those people who signed certain contracts in Hollywood, they can no longer use our energy to keep them in that position. And another thing is that many of these people that are up for sacrifice in Hollywood, especially a lot of the black men, the way that the enemy was able to siphon our energy was because we put a lot of our focus towards these people in certain areas, in certain parts of history. So let's just say, for instance, Will Smith. He's been on in that platform in Hollywood for many years now, probably 20 plus years, right? So many of us grew up with him, and most of the melanated community, whenever Fresh Prince came on, we was all tuning in at the same time. We was all channeling, we was all turning to the same channel at the same time to watch his show whenever it came on. Or we was all being programmed, we turned on the same program at the same time whenever his show came on. And so we was putting our focus there, and that's how the enemy was able to harness our energy, because where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows. And so the enemy knew this and used it for a dark reason, in darkness. And so, okay, all of their attention is going in this direction based on this star that we have placed up in this position, Will Smith. They all love him. Okay, in this moment, they're all laughing with him. In this moment, they're all crying with him. Let's harness the energy at this time. So they knew exactly when to do it. Okay? That's why you are channeling when you change the channel, and you are being programmed when you turn on specific programs. They knew when to do it. This is the strategy and the tactic that they have used through dark magic, witchcraft, spell work, and all of these different things, specifically though against the melanated man and woman. And so then you'll have other people, such as, remember, if you all recall, Martin Lawrence had a situation a few years ago where he was running out in the street saying, they're trying to kill me, they're trying to kill me. And, he had to turn around, though, and he ended up apologizing and saying that he maybe overreacted to some things that he was going through internally. They needed him to suppress the truth. But see, he wanted to bring it out because he sensed that he was up for sacrifice. Okay? And so he was trying to get protection. He wanted the world to know, if I go out and if I holler and yell and scream, I'm going to let the world know something is happening to me. But they silenced him again. So now, because of the times that we're in, they was able to silence him, and he was able to maintain his position, up until now. But because of the times that we are in, and because the chosen have now we have reclaimed our gifts, we have reclaimed our inheritance, we have reclaimed our birthright. And if you have not done it yet, I strongly suggest that you do, because the more of us that comes into this in unison, group consciousness, in terms of breaking the generational curses off of ourselves, our ancestors, our offspring, and all of the chosen, and then turning back and lighting a candle. So breaking the generational curses, you can go look at my other videos. It looks like I declare and I decree that all generational curses over myself, my ancestors, and my offsprings are now broken in spirit and in flesh, and sleep and awakened state across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. And so it is, and you burn it. And then another way of doing it, even more powerful than that, is to destroy the generational curses that was placed over us through the text of Deuteronomy, where the Vatican and the enemy came in and placed that text in there to put curses over us, and has been playing it out over a span of time all the way up until today. If you read the curses, you'll be able to see how it's directly connected to the melanated man and woman. Many people want to say, no, God did that. No. Not at all. That was done by the so-called powers that were, who are now losing their authority. And so I strongly suggest that you also print those out and write on there, I declare and I decree that the destruction of all of these curses over myself, my offspring, my ancestors, and all of the chosen is now destroyed in spirit and in flesh, and burn it. Some of you, if you feel bold enough to take another step, which I did, I tore out the scriptures of Deuteronomy. I believe it's verse 28, Deuteronomy 28, verses 17. I can't even quite remember the exact verses, but I know it's Deuteronomy 28, and there you'll find the curses. I took them out of my Bible, and I actually burnt those as well. And then you turn around and you light a candle, and you might get you a permanent marker and write on your candle, I am free, my ancestors are free, my offspring is free, all of the chosen seed are free in spirit and in flesh, in sleep and awakened state across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. And you let it burn through. Obviously in a safe place, but you let it burn through. And so this is how we establish and take back our authority in the spiritual realm. And so it's disrupting, it's causing a lot of disruptive energy. And so this is why the enemy is using many measures and tactics to go after specifically the black men in Hollywood that are well known amongst the majority of those of us, melanated man and woman, okay? And so we end up sending our focus in that direction, either in a grieving state or in a protective state. Is we end up putting our energy in that direction. And so they're planning something right now, okay? Just know this. There's a plan that they are having, but it's largely because they're losing their position. They need to put as many of us back to sleep as possible so that those people, so that we're not they don't want us that strong in numbers, okay? Because in the spiritual realm, literally 2 or more is enough, okay? But because we got, just on my channel alone, because I'm not the only one that has people out here doing these types of things. I don't know if they're doing it necessarily the way that I'm being called or told as a vessel to present it to you all. I haven't seen anyone yet. But regardless of that, people are taking their power back. People are reclaiming their inheritance. And so these people have been siphoning the gifts, your spiritual gifts, your ability as a co-creator to create your kingdom internally and externally. They have been taking your actual creative gifts, such as singing or dancing or doing hair or poetry or whatever it is you know how to do. They have been siphoning that energy as well. And so now that you have reclaimed it, so-called Hollywood is losing its position in more ways than one. And so the first thing that the enemy wants to do is to target directly the black man of Hollywood as an example of pretty much inciting fear into the melanated man, woman, and child, because they know that we're going to be very focused in on what's happening. So just know that I foresee that there will be more scenarios that's going to take place with the black men in Hollywood. And the issue that I have more so than anything is that many of these black men, they have sold out. They have sold out, especially because many of their wives are witches. And many of them have also married outside of their own bloodline. Okay? Now, I don't care what you have to say in regards to, well, that's racist to say. No. It's deeper than what meets the eye. Many of them have married out to women who will easily sign them over and be happy to see them as being a sacrifice as long as they can benefit from the wealth that they've been able to gain. Okay? So just keep your eyes out, be watchful, pay attention, because it's going to be a lot more stuff that's going to be happening. And I feel like what they're trying to do is they want to hit us back to back to back to back with different occurrences, so that as they work behind the scenes to try to create other disruptive things, or they want to just mainly the main thing that they want to do is to keep you from rising into your divinity. And so if they can keep you overly focused in on what's happening over there, then they can accomplish shifting the energy so that it's not so many people that's in their power and in their strength, because it's overwhelming for the beast right now. The beast don't have our energy to feed off of for many of us, okay? And many of you are getting ready to unplug as well. And so it's dying because we've taken back our power. So let's continue to do what we've been doing, establishing our authority, stepping into your divinity, continue to do the work to heal, being grateful, practicing gratitude, exuding love, practicing self-love, cutting off the TV, social media, doing what's necessary to only feed yourself with those things that's going to continue to empower you. Because this thing right here is getting ready to go down. So that's what I got for you all. I love you. You'll notice that many of your gifts that you felt was taken are going to start to come back, or you're going to start to reawaken that passion and that desire to get back to those things that you love now, because we have now taken our authority back and we've reclaimed what was stolen from us. And so as a result of you doing that, you're going to find that many of you will walk away from certain jobs that you hate, and you're going to do it happily and, and freely and openly, ready to step into your gifts and to utilize your gifts as your means of creating security for yourself. And when you do it, you're also going to find that the abundance is going to flow in like it's never done before. Why? Because it's now coming back to us. Everything that was stolen, we're now receiving it back. The head is now becoming the tail, and the tail is now becoming the head. We are now building the kingdom. As within, so without. So that's what I got for you all. I love you. Stay strong. And if you want a private reading from me, email me. If you want to purchase some of my hair and body oils, let me know. The orders go out every Saturday. So I love you, and I'll talk to you all next time.